And welcome back. Cabrini Immigrant Services of New York is also a multi-service agency whose mission is to empower, provide legal supportive, as well as educational services to the immigrant, refugees, and other communities at NYC through access to essential services, civic participation, as well as community building. They strive together to work to build the immigrant community to create a more inclusive society by fostering justice, dignity, as well as respect. Joining me now and sharing more is the Executive Director of Cabrini Immigrant Services of NYC Incorporated, Javier Ramirez Baron, and we thank you so much for being with us, Javier.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to me to be here. It's important for us to be in the communication community.
And I gotta wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for being with us too on a Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, the same to you and everybody who is watching this show.
Yes. So for somebody who may not be so familiar, we talk about Cabrini Immigrant Services, and of course, we know that you work in the immigrant community, but I gave a little bit of an intro, but for somebody who may not know, give us a more expanded look at the work that you guys do.
Sure. Well, we are located in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and we are like a welcoming center for immigrants, and we consider the immigrants newcomers. Is the majority of the population that we work. And newcomers could be anybody who just arrived or anybody who has been here for 20 years, but they don't know the right, they don't know the access, or they have difficulty in obtaining services that they needed. And as you mentioned that, our main goal, our mission is that all the immigrants, undocumented or documented, get access to the services that they need and get access to the education that will helping us to navigate not only the social services, but the legal services, especially with immigration. It's important. Immigration universe is huge, but we focus here in family petitions. And when you want to reunify with your family, or when you want to renew your green card, or you want to become a citizen, that is really important for us, or for the undocumented to understand why they qualify or not qualify. That is really important because unfortunately, many people take advantage of the documented immigrants because they are in need desperate for many years. And the immigration law, as I said before, is very complex. And sometimes they go to the grown person and their future basically is destroyed with immigration. So we're trying to provide those services. We, as I said before, we are located in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. We are a nonprofit organization, and we follow the example of Mother Savior Cabrini. She is the patron saint of immigrants for the Catholic world, and many people don't know who is Mother Cabrini. Well, Mother Cabrini was an Italian immigrant who arrived in the country in 1890, and she came to work with Italian immigrants at that time, 50,000 more or less, desperate for all the services facing the same situation many immigrants facing today. And she was able to provide orphanage schools, orphanage school, hospitals, and eventually she became the first US citizen, and it was an immigrant. That is great. So the patron saint of immigrant for the Catholic world, we feel kind of touched by her example. It was a woman that was struggling all her life here in the United States. She never mastered the English language, maybe many of us, but she was able to succeed and had a fingerprint that we're trying to continue to carry on with immigrants today all over the world. Initially, we're working in the Lower East Side, as I said before, but the needs for the immigrants in our city is huge. So we're seeing people all over the city and beyond, and people come to our doors, and we're working with them, we're welcoming them, and our idea is to work together. So maybe for many of them, it's like a home, a safe place, because they feel like we treating and we understand the reality. Majority of the staff is also immigrants. So that helping us in the process.
Well, let's stay and talk about immigration for a minute, because that's pretty huge. And I know that many people were on a backlog already before COVID actually hit when it came to green cards, when it came to naturalization. Give me a little bit more insight and let me know, what's it like now, given the fact that we're, still in COVID and you've got people still seeking immigration status, or we're on the verge of having their, their naturalization and all the things that were supposed to happen. What are you seeing come through your doors now?
Well, the situation is dramatic. I mean, before the pandemic was really bad, especially under Mr. Trump administration was horrible. I mean, the waiting list for obtaining papers was terrible. And with the pandemic, the situation get worse. I mean, in general, we consider that the immigration system is broken, and I want to try to explain you why very quickly. Let's say that I am a US citizen, and I want to petition my brother that is basically maybe 1 year younger than me. Unfortunately, he is now over 21. So in fact, the whole process for my brother to came to reunify with me, it will take more than 10 years. So now, depending on the country, you are from Mexico, that process would take 25 years, 30 years. So it's very unfair, especially considering that we are a nation of immigrants. So if you before wanna become a citizen, usually that process before Trump, usually it takes more or less 8 months to maximum 8 months. Right now, it could take a year and a half, 2 years that you could become for an interview. And that is a huge, because when you become a US citizen, it's a huge change in your life. Just to put it clear, let's say that I am a legal permanent resident. Right now, I cannot petition my parents. Maybe parents get behind for many years, decades. And the only way to try to reunify our family in the United States, that is a safe place for the majority of the immigrants, is impossible. So waiting for many years, the process to become resident, to finally be a US citizen is long. As I said before, it could take decades. Now you have to wait 1 year and a half or 2 years to be just calling for the interview. So it's crazy. Plus the people who have been coming to the border and go to the court because they are facing deportation, the backlog is 2 or 3 years. And when you are there, you are in limbo. Because if your case is there, not necessarily mean that you will obtain kind of employment authorization or benefit. Basically, the government say, okay, I heard you and you are here. We had a case with you, but I cannot see you in 2 years. What happened with your life? Well, you have to start navigating the city and see what you can do. So that is more or less an example of what is happening. Plus the embassy for the people who are going to interviews overseas in the family reunification process. So an embassy, they had a backlog for 2 or 3 years. That the families complete all the papers. Many people from the Caribbean, for Dominican Republic, for any country, and they basically waited in limbo. So the situation is really bad. It's sad because we have to face it every day with our clients. Our clients anger and desperate. Sometimes they get frustrated with us, and we understand. They see us as, okay, you help me with this, help me. Why we cannot finish, and we say, unfortunately, it's beyond our hands. But our goal is also to explaining what is happening and what we can do in order to try to change that reality. That is more or less what we're doing with Justice for Immigrants.
Yeah. Share with us, as we now are on Thanksgiving, I know there's a lot of work that's going on with your organization in terms of preparing for the holiday and getting food out to families. What's it been like? And talk about some of the efforts that you guys have had leading up to Thanksgiving and making sure that you're trying to help in the area of food insecurity, which is affecting a lot of New Yorkers, and more particularly, I know, the immigrant community.
Well, we have been, I mean, the sister, how I call for the, we are a Catholic organization, and our main sponsor, the Missionary Sisters of Sacred Heart of Jesus, that many people know them as the Cabrini Sisters. They always see our intervention like a whole intervention. No, we're trying to be, okay, you are a newcomer in the city. We have to address, you usually coming for legal services, yes, but we know you have social services that need to be addressed. Also, and one, as you mentioned, that Daren, is food insecurity, especially for the undocumented workers with those no protection. So it's difficult for them to bring a decent food to the tables, even for the workers that are citizens that live in our neighborhoods. So during the pandemic, we faced that. It was the amount of food that we distribute was almost the double. Usually we distribute 1,000 package of nutritious food. During the pandemic was 2,000. Right now, our average is more or less 1,200 packages. And we're preparing because we know the families struggle to bring the food and they want to celebrate. Celebration is also part of the melting pot of this country, learning about, for many of us to learn about this holiday that we don't have it in our countries. And it's a holiday that celebrates human beings and celebrate encounter and solidarity. So we try to talk about that with the people, understanding the importance of Thanksgiving for the American society, the culture that we embrace, but we know that they cannot afford that. So we were kind of lucky that we had many funders that are helping us, and they trust us because we have been with the food pantry since 2004. And as I said before, we distribute food for more than 1,000 families in the neighborhood and beyond, because we know that people coming from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, for all over the city just to have a decent package of food. Unfortunately, there are many food banks and food pantries in the city, but unfortunately, it's difficult to include in those packages nutritious and healthy food. Our commitment here is distribute vegetables, to distribute meat, milk that is good for them. So people coming all over because they know we had a good package, and it's for our donors and for the work that we do that. So we have been distributing only our regular package, but we were able to provide $20 gift certificates this month, so they could buy, because we know that everybody like to eat turkey. We have different cultures here, the Chinese community, the Latino community. So okay, maybe the best thing to get in order to celebrate the culture is this is some gift certificate. Hopefully you could buy wherever is good for you, for your family, to celebrate, stay together, and to celebrate that we are in this beautiful city like New York City, for example.
It's a lot that's going on in terms of the holidays and really trying to meet the needs of people. And the closer that we get, to the end of the year, the more we get to see. And you look out in the community and you see that the need still exists and how much greater it actually is. I know that in addition to taking care of the families for Thanksgiving, you also try to do something by way of the Angel Fund Scholarship. And that's something that's very special in your organization. What happens with the Angel Fund Scholarship?
Well, the Angel Fund is a program that we feel really proud because the Angel Fund, I coming from Colombia. I am a kind of privileged person there, but I am a working class guy. And the only way to overcome many of our economic difficulties is through education in order to have a better life for our family. And we know, especially when you are undocumented, how difficult it is to go and pay for the tuition in a college. Even if it's a city college, it's expensive for us, especially if you are a working class family. So this program starts before many organizations start working with that around 2006, 2007. And the system all had that vision to see how we could help the community to improve, to integrate, to contribute to the economy. And we believe that education is the key. So we have, since then, that scholarship that is targeting for undocumented people. And the scholarship is only one part of the program. We're trying to help it with a small amount of money, sometimes $2,000, $3,000 per year, to help it to pay for tuition or costs related to education. But also it's a way to establish communication with the student and with the family. Many of them, they are totally lost with the educational system. I could use myself as an example. I got the privilege to have professional education and higher education in Colombia. And when I'm trying to navigate here to go for my master, and they asked me go to apply for FAFSA or those kind, I was totally lost. Nobody could support me. So just imagine our families working long shifts, 10 hours, 12 hours per day, and trying to support the kids to navigate the system is complicated. So it's not only the economic factor, but also helping the family to support the student and to navigate the different scenario that they're facing in education. So this is what we're doing today in your Fund Scholarship.
Yeah, it's a wonderful work that you're actually doing to really help people, because it is a struggle. Education is a struggle, and not having the necessary resources. What are some of the challenges that you can share with us? Maybe that the immigrant population is facing that maybe we, the average person, may not be so aware of.
Well, there are many. I mean, one of the things is fear, especially the undocumented immigrants. They have fear. Even the city is a welcoming city. It's fear. I mean, it's fear when they want to access, for example, the domestic violence. They don't feel comfortable going to the police, or if you are a delivery person and you were assaulted, you don't want to go to the police. You feel afraid to call them because maybe they will ask you about your immigration status, or sometimes they living in a small apartment small apartments to families, and they don't want to call the landlord for any repair because it's too many people there, but they're trying to survive. So it's fear, is injustice and inequality in the payment, is discrimination. But we've seen that the legal part is the main barrier for them. And we were saying that is like we calculate that in the United States, more or less 11 million undocumented people, it means families that they are working, more or less 7 million of people are in the labor force, but they don't get access to any documentation. So they continue in fear. So the only way to bring solutions to those families is to change the law or to have some cap or path to obtain the documents. And also there are more fears. Many of my clients say, we feel invisible. We're working here all the time. And we see them in many fields, in the restaurants, they helping in our houses. I remember a couple of weeks I was working with a woman, maybe in the 60s, and she said, Javier, I have been working with this wonderful family for 25 years, but they never really asked me about my immigration status. They don't know, and they're kind with me, but they don't know how I face it, how difficult for me is to facing with the daily challenges that we have as a citizen. So they feel invisible. Sometimes they feel that people don't value enough all the contribution, and we see that in the pandemic. Here we see, I feel very proud, for example, I want to use Cabrini food pantry during the pandemic. We never closed. We never lost one single day. Even when everybody was so afraid to come, our volunteers were here, open the door, taking the precautions, but they feel that they are not valued enough. That the people say, yes, they are documented, but we need to do more. And I think it's important to the non-immigrant community understand the reality that we face it. Sometimes I know it's difficult. We had too many things in our place. So, let me learn about this. But sometimes people say, Javier, why they don't go to the Social Security and request a Social Security number? It's easy. Well, it's not easy like that. Maybe trying to learn more while they face, when they accusing us like we're stealing jobs, and we say, well, now it's a chore in the employees, and we are here to work, and it's clear that we are not stealing any job. But so it's a lot of myths that hopefully we could, and this is our role for agency too, to working with the non-immigrant community to learn about our realities, to learn that we are not the bad people that they call the previous administration, or the bad hombres, or those kind of crazy idea that they had in their mind, and prove that, hey, we're working, we pay taxes every single day. When we buy a soda, when we buy any product, we pay taxes. We contribute to the economy. So unfortunately, that is not visible for many people. I mean, in New York City, maybe it's different. Many people have the sensitivity to appreciate that, but unfortunately, it's a lot of things we have to do. And this is an affecting, unfortunately, the political arena at the federal level. Those kind of misunderstanding about the immigrants and the contributions.
Yeah, Javier, a lot there, and I want you to make sure that you stay connected to us, because we want to bring you back to the show so we can continue to talk more about the work that you're doing, and how we can be more in tune with the challenges and the plight of our immigrant community that's so rich here in New York City. Thank you so much for being with us here, my brother, and again, happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thank you so much. And for the immigrant community or non-immigrant community, you need someone in these services, someone that need orientation. Hey, we are here. Just give us a call, and we are here to work with the community. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, glad to have you. As our viewers know, they saw the information on the screen throughout the course of the interview. And of course, get connected with the Cabrini Immigrant Services. And I promise you, you can find out some helpful resources that might be able to assist you, especially as we get closer to the end of the year and the holidays and the needs that are out there. I want to thank you so much for being with us, Javier. And again, great having you with us.
Thank you, Daren. Have a wonderful day and happy holidays.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.